Hello! Welcome to The Healing Artist. I'm your host, Freda. And friends, today we have such a special treat. We have a visit with Natasha Ramlall. She works with high functioning, capable women who feel the ground cracking beneath them after a difficult life transition or an awakening to a mismatched life. As an embodied integration coach, she reflects a somatic map required to heal, expand, and evolve from the in identity rupture and navigate the space between who you were and who you are becoming. Natasha, welcome to The Healing Artist.
Oh, thank you, Frida. I'm very happy to be here. I've been looking forward to this conversation. Uh, the thing I love about you is this levity that you bring to the work, and this, sometimes it's really easy to get pulled into the muck of how challenging
Mm.
this human experience can be, and especially when you're focused on doing the work and trying to move some of that through you. But the way that you reflect on what's happening, there's a lighthearted beauty, and I think we need a little bit more of that in the wellness space in general. So, yeah, I was really looking forward to having this chance to speak with you today.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that's nice to feel seen. I'm like, oh, I'm
Mm.
kind of glowing here for a moment. Yes, I think that we have to bring joy to it, or else it's too dark.
Mhm,
It's too hard. And then it's like,
mhm.
oh, why am I even doing this? Can we start again? And it's like, no, no, no. How can we enjoy this ride that we're on because we chose to be here? And even when it's so dark, you can find the breaths of life and
Mhm.
light within that.
Yeah, I think it's a gift though. I think it's
Mm.
something that, well, it's a gift and it's also maybe something we can cultivate within ourselves if it doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
But you have that gift, and I think it's a real benefit to anybody that gets to be in your space. And so I consider myself lucky today to be in
Oh,
your space for that reason.
thank you. Natasha, how did you start doing the work? What brought you here?
Oh, well, I think that I've always, looking back over my lifetime, I've always had this restless energy, this kind of seeker searching. Why doesn't, why doesn't life feel satisfactory as it is? And satisfactory is such a low bar.
It is so bad.
but it was kind of like, I'm looking around. My life is quite privileged. I've got all my needs met, got all my needs met. Um, and yet there's this longing, there's this craving, there's this emptiness. And, over time, uh, I had my own sort of experiences of shifting and identity ruptures, but without awareness of what was happening, I just sort of leaned on my patterns, inherited patterns, and the survival blueprints that I got from my parents, my lineage, and also the culture I grew up in. And those patterns really involved, you know, kind of sacrificing the present in in service of a safer future. And it's
Ooh, I
just
hear that.
under, yeah, yeah. So it was under the illusion that I could actually control, manipulate future outcomes if I, you know, grasped hard enough, if I planned meticulously enough, if I met all of those expectations in the most perfect way that I possibly could. Um, and so, because that was my orientation to life and my understanding of how to live a life well,
Mm.
I don't think I ever really felt safe to be in the present. I don't think I ever really felt like it was okay for me to be in the now,
Mm.
um, to experience a slower pace of pleasure and sensation of what the moment felt like. Um, and so, over time, that manifested in a more practical way. I was very quick to anger. I was as I said, very dissatisfied with different areas of my life and just always having that restless, searching energy. So I could never just, settle and be fully grateful for what was. Um, and so eventually my body sort of intervened. And
Yeah, what was your breaking
um,
point there?
well, I had a diagnosis of endometriosis that followed pretty soon after my first son was born. I have two adult sons now. And it took a few years for that diagnosis to actually become clear, because if you are familiar with anything around endometriosis, it's not terribly prioritized in the Western medical model generally. And eventually I got the diagnosis, and there was sort of a band-aid solution for, managing the symptoms. And so that took care of the symptoms, but it gave me, it allowed me to sort of go back into that orientation that I had already been inhabiting instead of recognizing this is actually a nudge to say like something's off and something's wrong. I
Hmm.
didn't understand that at the time. And so I guess a decade and a half later,
Hmm.
my body kind of intervened again, and I started experiencing chronic back pain that was connected to the endometriosis, and that just forced me to stop. And I could not force past that. I couldn't push past that, and I really had to put all of my attention on healing.
Yeah.
Um, and so in my search, I discovered this whole world of mind body health and the emotional components to my back pain. And,
Mm.
I'd always been a very spiritual person. I'd always leaned on self-improvement topics quite heavily, but this was a world that opened up to me in a brand new way. And I just got completely sucked in. I was
Mm.
just completely passionate. I wanted to know everything about it.
The fire
And
got
even
lit. It's like, now we
the
go.
the fire got lit, and I realized, oh my goodness, there's so many parts of my life that show up in this work that I've never really had in my conscious awareness.
Mhm.
And so it just became this like exploration, which is still continuing
Yeah,
in
the
full
ongoing
form.
process.
Yeah, the further I understand, the more I recognize what I don't. But I'm in love with that process now. Like it really is something that feels purposeful and engaging and inspiring, and it's connected me to incredible areas of life and beautiful people and all of the different things. And so through that process, at the same time that I was kind of learning how to be with my chronic back pain from a new understanding of what it was trying to tell me and why it was there in the first place. I also recognized that the job that I had been in, the career that I had been sort of building and becoming an expert in for 25 years,
Mhm.
was really, I'd reached my growth edge in
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
work. And I was kind of trying to deny that a little bit because I the idea of leaving something familiar and comfortable was not again,
It can
that's
be overwhelming. It's scary,
absolutely.
especially with kiddos. It's like,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and so I kind of straddled both worlds for a little while, and eventually took my break to sort of enter this new field of work
Mhm.
and like really fully enter it. But what happened was I had this complete identity rupture, and rather than having all of these hyper productive qualities that I've always had, I actually just kind of like went into a shutdown, and I was like, I could not recognize myself. Had massive fatigue and exhaustion, and just
Mhm.
wondering why I couldn't get the simplest things done anymore. And so I had already been coaching and doing various facilitation of groups and things like that. But this sort of new understanding of this process of change and how it actually um, functions in the body at a more somatic level.
Yeah. So like
Really, sort of-
re
yeah,
your feminine, it sounds like you're stepping into your feminine energy and like sort of allowing that cyclical nature to come through. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And being with all of that challenge and discomfort, what I really realized is that it's really about a process of learning how to trust.
Mm.
And I think that for me, and I think for most people, is probably one of the most difficult things to do as a human is just
To trust.
trust. Yeah.
Gosh, that's so interesting. Like just sitting with that for a moment.
Mm,
Yeah. Was there a moment where you were able to dip into trust, or when I hear the word trust, I link it to the word faith.
yeah.
I'm wondering if there was a moment when you were able to be like, oh, now we listen to the body, or
Yeah. To be honest, it's kind of a constant coming back to that understanding. It's sort of a centering back in, and it's various levels of trust. It's trusting myself to come out of this functional freeze state that feels really foreign and really uncomfortable, and really unlike anything that I've ever been able to identify with. Um, and it's a trust in something greater than myself holding me through the process, that there is a purpose for this entire, trajectory as it's happening. And just trust in the journey in general, that it's going to be okay. I'm going to figure it out, and I'll be okay.
yeah,
Um, and so it's kind of like this, I'll bounce out of it and I'll recognize, oh, I'm starting to, that fear is starting to surface. But now I have the ability to recognize what that feels like in my body, and I can discern this is not a fear energy that's serving me. This is really rooted in stories. This is really rooted in old patterns that I am actively releasing or in the process of letting go of. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to be in the muck. So
yeah.
let me just, give myself the time and the space and the permission. And so that awareness piece is huge, but also so difficult to actually, you know, do the work of it sometimes.
But you're describing a
Yeah.
good life. Like I hear everything you're saying, and
Mm,
I'm like, that's a good story. Like it's
yeah.
like the understanding, the
Mhm.
surrendering, the moving into the new situation. Like, and now it's like, and now we find freedom moving forward. I mean, like that's a good life. What else do you
It
want,
is.
right?
It is absolutely.
And
And
the work is the joy. The work is the journey. This is the now. This is the juice.
yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. And I recognize that this rupturing of my identity, it was, you know, driven by choice. And a lot of the women that I work with, it's not in the same way. Like they will have massive transition points in their life that weren't of their choosing, you
Mhm.
know? And so there's another layer to that loss of recognizing themselves in their own life,
Mhm.
because it's connected to something very real that's been lost, and they didn't actively make a choice to step into that.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, the ruptures can definitely look different, and yeah, in some ways, my choice was uh, perpetuated by circumstances that were not of my choosing. But the bigger choice to change careers, and other earlier ruptures that I've, moved through, um, I've definitely had a very good life, as you say. Yeah, the whole process of
Yeah.
it. Mhm.
Hmm. Just sinking into the story a little. I'm curious what you did before.
Hmm. For work.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that 25-year career, I was working with adults, newcomers and refugees to Canada. So I was in the work of teaching them English and settlement. And so being in that space I mean, all it was identity rupturing, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that
Yeah.
was just the through line of the work.
And you're
And
anchoring
so,
and grounding them into being in this new place. Like that's a lot of, that's a big giving. You're giving a lot, and
yeah, but it was one of the kinds of giving that is really fueling. So it's like this beautiful reciprocal, yeah. Um, yeah, and I think one of the most important things I realized about that work, as you know, I had been doing it for long enough, was that, it's not so much about the language acquisition and it's not so much about learning the particular details that anyone needs in order to be able to settle in a new country and a new culture and all of these different things. Of course, that it comes, that sort of is almost inevitable that it will eventually come at different paces for everyone. But the bigger, more important piece was that creation of community. It was that anchor of safety that we were able to provide for these newcomers who are, as I said, the majority of, or I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the majority of my students were refugees. So they weren't coming by choice. This wasn't a decision that they had made because they were seeking a new life, but they were forced into it. So there was a lot of challenge around having to settle in this new place and make it a home.
grief.
Um,
Yeah, a lot of grief, I would
a
imagine.
lot of grief, a lot of pain, and family members and people who are still in the terrible situation that they've left at the same time that they're trying to, find their footing and land in this new space. I actually had a student. This was sort of earlier on in my career, and I think it was a pivotal learning for me. And this was an older man. He was from Afghanistan, and he was a businessman, but he had never really gone to school. So he was successful in business, but it became a very terrible situation that he had to flee. And so when he was in my class, we were, learning very, very elementary skills, like just, how to how to write the alphabet and, like learning from the very beginning. He didn't really have much experience with schooling at all. And it felt for, months, actually probably years, that every single day it was like a reset. And anything that we had done the prior day
Yeah.
was gone and we were starting again from scratch. And other students would come in and they would progress and they would move on, and this man was still there. And my heart went out to him because I knew some of the details of the trauma that he had come through, and why he was there. And I was rooting for him. But also there was, some frustration and some like, why, like, what is the block here? Like, I've tried everything I possibly can and nothing seems to be working. And then, yeah, it was a few years in, and he would show up every day and he would come with a smile on his face and a positive intention to learn. And then one day something clicked and
Mm,
he just started using English and he
mm.
started remembering things. And I think that was the moment that my understanding of what I was actually doing in that space completely shifted. And I realized my primary role here is not about, teaching the skill of using English. My primary role is to be that safe anchor
Mm.
because he needed time. He needed years in order to feel like he had a consistent, safe resource.
Woo!
in
Yes.
order to drop into his new home and be able to, move beyond that frozen state that he had been living in. So yeah, it's actually been it's been a beautiful um, sort of transition into this work because there's been so many parallels
Yeah.
of learning, but now it's just really more specific and focused, I suppose. I had this blueprint that being in the present, being in my body was just not a safe thing. It wasn't of value. I didn't deserve to take that time. It was silly, selfish, guilt, what are all the different stories. And so I really needed to reacquaint myself with what it feels like in my body, like
Yeah.
from very, very explicit signals of, hunger, needing to use the washroom, feeling tired, and sort of honoring that that's actually really valuable data.
Mm.
It's not something to override. And, I don't need to biohack my body into getting a result that I want, and then at the time, that's all that there was. It's like you have
I
an
think.
issue, I've got the fix. I know how you can manipulate your body to do exactly what you want it to do.
Right. It's all that
And so,
masculine stuff.
right? So it's coming from that sort of broken way of understanding ourselves and just that sort of dualism that, is pervasive throughout Western culture. And so, yeah, coming back into presence, starting to feel into what different emotions feel like noticing, oh, um, shortness of breath and tightness in my gut and sort of that cramping in my throat and when I'm feeling headachy and just sort of be like kind of building that awareness piece was a really important start.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I've worked with other coaches who have helped me, have, guided me and witnessed me through that process so that I could, you know, get more comfortable with being with all of that and allowing it to move through me. Um, I did my own training, which was, we're always our first client in new trainings that we're learning, right? We're always doing the work on ourselves
Oh, yeah.
first. Yeah. So that was a really helpful process because through that training, I really got a lot of opportunities to sit with difficult emotions and really dig in to some of these painful things I've been carrying for a long time and didn't really feel comfortable looking at. Um, what else? I think one of the really big parts has been giving myself permission to slow down, like
Yeah.
really, really being very deliberate about pacing and really honoring that we can't, you know, we can't listen
Yes.
to our bodies. We can't hear our spirit. We can't connect to our truth when we're moving at a pace that's just, go, 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 productive at all costs, like get it done. There's always a to-do list,
Yes.
and so there's a real relearning around that. And then sort of like the being with the guilt and the shame of taking that space and taking that time
Hmm.
and recognizing that that is important and that is actually another way of being productive.
Yes.
It's
Oh my
just
goodness, yes.
right. But it's more of an internal, I guess, it's not something validated by others necessarily because they don't understand.
Hmm.
And yet the outcome of doing that internal work and that slowing down has made me a better person in with my relationships in the world. It has made me a better human in general. It has made me kinder and more open and less reactive. And um, so what I thought was what I initially understood to be selfish turned out to actually be the most in service way that I could approach my life.
Oof. Yes. Thank you for sharing, and I am right there with you. I feel that
Mm,
completely. Ugh, I couldn't have, yeah, right there.
mm,
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting thing because it's hard to explain in so many ways, but the slowing down, the listening, and just moving and navigating the world in a softer and like I keep using the word like softening and deepening into this
mhm.
sort of surrendering into the experience of just this now moment and lived experience. And even though it is known information that I know in my body, I still have to mentally tell myself that it's okay. Still,
Yeah.
like I teach it, and it's like because I need to learn it.
Right.
Same,
Absolutely.
same, same. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just also noticing it goes in ebbs and flows, right? Like that sort of
Mhm.
cyclical cycle nature of things. And sometimes it feels a lot easier to be in that softness. And other times, life asks us to get into the push. It's like that
Mhm.
yin and yang in the masculine, divine, feminine. And then
Mhm.
ultimately, I'm not sure, let me ask you where you are with this, but I've been doing a lot of work to try to bring those two together, like that sacred union within of
Yes.
feeling still working with my masculine because I got a lot of rage.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, just we're being open to that because ideally, we have the pendulum swing back to like being fully embodied. Okay, now we're in here and we have to sort of marry the two together.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's sort of, I think, what happened when I entered that functional freeze.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, you're not going to get to balance if
Mhm.
you don't go all the way to the other extreme of what you're used to.
Yeah.
And so that was the feminine, was that patiently allowing myself to come to balance at the pace of safety that my body understood it to be. Um, yeah, that marrying of masculine and feminine is a huge focus for me. And there's this metaphor that I've sort of been sitting with. I'm not a surfer, but I'm asking to be one in my next reincarnation because I think that looks like the ultimate. Like, if you're going to choose any life in the world, please let me surf all day, every day, and like be
Yes.
really good at
Yes.
it.
Yes. And also, like, what other metaphor for life is there? You're like watching the wave, you're alert, you're ready, you're going to be ready to get on that board and ride that wave.
That's
Like,
exactly it.
sometimes
That's
you crash
exactly
out,
it.
sometimes you get back on, but
That's exactly the metaphor. Exactly. That sort of sitting on the waves and just sort of like feeling into the rhythm of the ocean. You're not in a hurry, you're not pushing, you're not forcing. And then you have that gut knowing this is my wave. And then you go all in,
yep.
right? And then it's just go, 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 high masculine in service of something that matters. And again, yeah, you might fall off
Hmm.
and you can get back on.
Yep.
And it's not a thing,
Yep.
right? We don't
And
have to
then
make it a thing.
and the wave completes, right? And then you're waiting for your next wave.
That's
And there's
right.
reset because it's got to
That's
go
right.
out to get big. And do you really want to catch that one? And they go, "Oh, I love it."
Yeah, I do
Sign
too. I
me up
do
for a
too.
server.
I mean, they're really like the wisest gurus of our time.
Oh my gosh, what's that movie with Keanu Reeves where he's like undercover? Point
Oh
Break.
yeah, Point Break. I loved that movie. I was obsessed with that movie. That's probably where I got this whole obsession with wanting to be a surfer myself.
Now, sir, are you gonna do just surfer or surfer bank robber? Like, ooh. So tell me about this free audio collection that you've created that you have for
Ah,
books.
yeah, so that practice of coming into a present state of embodiment that I mentioned is can be very difficult depending on where you sit on the spectrum of how much you're in your head.
Mhm.
So in in my personal life, also in the work that I do with others, this is sort of the foundational practice of resourcing. So resourcing into a felt sense of hopefully safety, if not that, maybe support, maybe just neutral. but sort of landing back in your body and feeling okay to be there. So, in whatever iterations are happening in your outside world, you can kind of find that place of stillness and that presence, and really just learning how to be with your own body in
Mm.
any given moment, and sort of that allowing and accepting of what you find there without needing to resist it, rush away from it, change it. So anyhow, the audio that I would love to offer to your listeners, if it feels aligned, is it's a guided audio. It's about 21 minutes. It's my voice. And I'm just guiding you into this um, embodied state of resourcing, and sort
Oh,
of for people who are experiencing an identity rupture, and they might be kind of in the chaos and the fear and the overwhelm of this transition that's um, really shaken them, shaken their sense of identity. It can be a really great first step, because it
mm.
just, before we rush through into the next thing to escape the discomfort,
Ooh,
can we learn how to be with that discomfort for a little bit first? And
yeah.
so that's the intention of it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we'll definitely have a link to the full thing in the show notes. Would you be
Okay.
open to doing a little of that work with me right now?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
do it, and it would give the
Okay.
listeners an opportunity as well.
Oh,
That
that's a
sounds
great
wonderful.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So you look as though you are in a comfortable space
Yes.
there. Yeah. And I'll just invite you to close your eyes and maybe connect with your breath. Yeah, just letting that inhale soften your belly. And on the exhale, just sort of dropping into your body, into the moment, feeling the weight of you on your chair, noticing where different parts of your body are rested, maybe on your lap or on the chair, on the table in front of you, noticing your feet and where they're connected. And with each subsequent breath, we just want to slow down ever so slightly. There's no urgency or destination in this practice. We simply want to slow down so that we can be present to the experience of being us in this moment. And I'll invite you to do a bit of a body scan, just starting at the top of your head and letting your awareness move down around the different parts of your body. And in this practice, we're not needing to change anything. We're just approaching it with some curiosity and just noticing. What does it feel like behind your eyes, in your face, in your jaw? down through the neck and shoulders. Noticing sensation in your arms, your hands, maybe fingers. And again, we're not changing anything. We don't need to resist anything that we find. We just want to notice. Taking our attention down along our torso, into the heart center, down into the belly, and really pausing, noticing if there is any kind of sensation, different temperature, a squeezing or an opening. If there's any kind of energy that may be moving or floating, or a solid feeling that is grounding you, pulling you. And taking that attention down to our legs, and just noticing our thighs, our lower legs, our feet, back of the feet, the front of the feet, the toes. And just noticing how much you may have slowed down your breathing just with a little focused attention. And just inviting you to notice if there's anywhere in your body right now that feels still, maybe calm or supported or pleasant, or maybe just more neutral. And that could be a large area of your body, like your chest or your legs, or it could be a tiny little spot in your body, like a finger. And if you're able to locate a place within your body that's feeling still, supported in this moment, just invite you to put all of your attention to that spot. Feel that sensation fully. Allow yourself to get inside the feeling of that. And as you breathe, experiment with expanding that sensation into more parts of your body. On the inhale, putting all of your attention on that sensation. And on the exhale, allowing it to expand. And just noticing how much of your body can you fill with that feeling of stillness or calm or safety. Maybe you're able to move that sensation into more parts of your body, and maybe not, and that's perfectly okay. Or perhaps you're able to move that sensation beyond the edges of your body, creating a kind of energetic bubble around you, and just feeling yourself land, being held within that bubble of energy. And as you feel into that more spacious or calm stillness, if you have any recollections of times in your life where you felt this kind of calm, maybe it's a memory of a time or a place or an activity, or maybe it's something that exists only in your imagination. But you may want to invite that image into your experience and allow yourself to be there. And as you feel into that sensation in your body, you may want to experiment with placing your hands on your body, maybe on your chest or your belly, maybe in a self hug, maybe just rested on your lap, and just feel the supportive pressure of your own hands on your body. You can play with the firmness and find just the right amount of pressure that feels like you've got you in this moment.
Mm. Mm.
Usually, I will say there's no rushing out of this state of resourced safety. You can let yourself luxuriate in the feeling for as long as you wish. But in the interest of our conversation on this podcast, I'll invite you when you're feeling ready to come back into this space and open your eyes.
Tasha, thank you so much for sharing that. What an exquisite, beautiful moment to reconnect with the body, to do a
Mm.
scan and just feel through. Oh, I love the sound of your voice. I felt so held, and I hope the listeners enjoyed that as well and were able to take a moment or maybe come back in the future when you have some time if you're driving or walking and come back and be able to spend the time with Natasha's voice and how held you hold the space. Oh, such a delight.
Mm. Thank you so much.
Mm,
I'm
such a,
grateful that you asked because
yeah,
it's always
beautiful sharing.
it's a very nice experience for me too, because I get to land in my body as I'm guiding the experience. So it's always a great chance for me to check in as well.
I'm wondering, I have a kind of a funny question. Just
Mhm.
as I've been dropping, because I used to have a really harried career myself where I was very much in that go, go, go energy and working so much. And in the softening, in the coming home, and learning to be embodied, pulling myself down and in the body, I have softened. My actual body has softened. So my
Mm.
tummy used to be tight. Like my muscles in my tummy were tight. And now as we were in the practice here and I'm holding my hand against my belly, my womb space, I'm thinking to myself, I'm as loose as a goose, like loosey goosey. But that tightness and holding and rigidity is just gone. Did you have that experience? I'm wondering.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It will, generally that has shifted. And now I'm just hyper aware of when I'm experiencing tightness in a way that it used to be more of a default setting. So I didn't notice, right?
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
everything was rigid. It was
Yeah.
tightened and squeezed and almost like you're getting electrocuted or something. It's like,
Right? Yeah, and I think with the belly in particular, for a lot of women, we kind of train ourselves to hold it in a particular way so that, how it looks from the outside is not, you know, I don't even know what the word is, but I think you know what I mean.
yeah.
And so, kind of reclaiming that feeling of softening the belly and just letting it
Oh,
be
yeah, it's delicious.
it is really delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, just as we were going through, I was just really noticing how soft, and it's like, oh, I love that, God. And then I was just curious, like with your embodiment practice, if you had experienced that too. Yeah, interesting. I've
Yeah.
never asked anybody else about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, this has just been a joy. It is wonderful to meet you.
Yeah, it's been lovely. I appreciate you so much. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Natasha. I'd love to tell you that I love you. God, universe, source loves you. And I hope that you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.